Okay, I'm going to check this computer down here. Okay, while I'm waiting for, okay, I got one person on. I'm just going to, since I can't see the questions, or maybe I can. If you'd like to say hi, well, I'm getting everything. Okay, I see that now. Maybe I can see the questions here. Okay, I think this might be working. All right. So, hello and welcome. I thought it would be fun to connect and have a little chat. Maybe you have some questions. Oh, there's audio here. Hold on. Bear with me. This is my first live. Let me see if I can get this. Wow. Oh, cool. Okay. All right. So I think no, that's me. Me is watching me. Anyway, this will be available to watch later on. So I just thought it would be fun to do a live so that there's an opportunity to ask questions. And you can always, oh, hi, Mitchell. That is so cool. How are you? We totally have to connect via text. I haven't seen you in forever. I have so many questions. Okay. So I thought, and Mitchell, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat because I actually can see it here. I was told that you couldn't see the chat when you're on live, so maybe they updated it. Okay. So I wanted us to connect to find out what areas maybe you're struggling with and what areas you wanted to work on. But also I wanted to give you a little bit of background about me so that I can help you in your movement yoga practice. And Mitchell or anybody else, there'll be time for questions, but I'm just going to give a little bit of a basis of some information first. And then I'll keep pausing to go over who has questions when different people come in. Okay, so I am a certified yoga teacher and I have a strong passion for movement and anything related to movement and dance. So I have done circus training, I've done silks, I've done calisthenics and animal flow and acro yoga. And I found them all so unique and fascinating and exhilarating that I started to combine those ideals and techniques, everything that I learned within my body. I started to introduce those ideas and practices into my teaching. So I teach like a non-traditional type of yoga. So if you've taken any of my classes, like Mitchell has, you'll know that it's coming from a potpourri of different fields of movement. And, we're meant to move. So any kind of creativity we bring into our life with movement, it really does have an impact on us emotionally, physically, spiritually, and it just like lifts us up in different ways. So my goal is to help those that are really seeking to take their health and their fitness and have it as this all-encompassing lifestyle, not just once in a while, but really taking it seriously and adding movement, any type of movement. So I teach yoga, but it's not traditional yoga. So this type of class or anything else that you're working on, you can combine just like I did. So I want you to think about it in that perspective because we are in a sitting society. We're on YouTube right now, which is awesome. But there's a big possibility we're sitting. I'm sitting at the moment. You're probably sitting. And if you're standing, that's great. But it's kind of bittersweet. So we progressed in different ways. And then in terms of human form, we're kind of regressing. It's impacting not just our physical body, but also our eyes. I now need to wear glasses because I'm on the screen all the time. And, it's also draining in a way. So I just want you to think about taking any opportunity you have to move your body, get away from the screen, get away from any type of structure where it keeps you still and not moving, because our bodies are meant to move. And I am here to help you with that. And Michelle, I don't know if you remember this, but as much as I love movement, I've had my share of injuries. I've had my share of surgeries and foot neuropathy where I couldn't walk, and that was upsetting. And then, it's just changes in my body. So all these things just were just like an awareness, being like, pay attention and don't take it for granted, because what happens one day when you can't get out of the chair, or you have trouble going down the stairs, or you couldn't walk? Like, I'm a yoga teacher and I couldn't walk to my class, and it was very, very frustrating and upsetting and all of that. I don't want to dwell, but those are eye-opening experiences. And we can have this lens of looking at it like, wow, that's like depressing, but also it can be educational, and it can be so thought-provoking, and being like, what's important in my life, and where do I want to spend my time, or at least put effort into that time. So in terms of the sitting society, I just want to help you get up and get out of the chair. Just add movement, even if it's 5 minutes, add that movement to your life as much as you can every day. And, we always say we're always so busy, but actually, if it's that important to us, and, health concerns or injuries or what else has come up in our lives, or someone that whether it's your parents or a dear friend or a husband or a wife, you have seen them struggle, you empathize, and there's always a different approach and perspective. So that's another reason I'm coming on live, is to help us all really embrace that movement. Can just be so joyful and fun. And I have to say, when I'm stuck at the desk and on the computer, I get so cranky. I just want to my skin is like crawling. I just got to get up and move. I always have my mat open. So it's like, hey, come on over here and join me. Because it's an invitation to move like we're naturally born to do. That's our innate yearning to just move. And I know we all feel it. It's just the idea of just like taking action. So I am here to help you take action. I have my classes on YouTube, and you can also follow me on Instagram, and you can just play. And I think that having a form of play and fun with your movement practice is going to make you do it more. So if you don't like the gym, maybe go to the gym and find something that you do like to do at the gym, or maybe don't go at all. And maybe you are into pickleball, or maybe you're into tennis or running, but find something that you enjoy doing, and keep doing more of that. And then connect with others that have that same passion and drive and interest. And I have to say, I never liked the gym. And I have been going to the gym since the second week of January. I did not start on January 1st because I would think I was hungover. I don't remember. Anyway, I really wanted to start making fitness at a higher level for myself. And I like to combine modalities. So I have been going to the gym, and I know a lot about biomechanics and kinesiology and muscles and movement. So now I'm just so excited, because I'm like, what more am I going to learn? What plateau am I going to surpass? Like, what's the next weight I'm going to get stronger at? And it's with the gym, but you can apply it to anything. Like, I don't know a lot about pickleball, but I hear it's a big thing where I live, and people are obsessed with it. I'm sure there's different metrics that you can go through to get to another level and another level, but that's with anything. And that's also like, challenging yourself, because that gives you that like joie de vivre for life, like that zest, like you're eating something so delicious. You can have that with your movement practice and just feel awesome. And then it resonates to every other part of your life, of your practice, and you'll just start to feel different. And the reason I am here right now live is because I just want you to try and embrace how you can feel awesome going forward. And I have two different stories I want to tell you, but I want to take a moment and I see there's another person that joined us. So see if you have any questions. And by the way, I am checking my notes because I want to make sure I don't miss anything, so that when there's a replay, I can go back and make sure I got all the grounds covered. Does anybody have any questions so far? And I'm going to review some specific poses that you might find beneficial, that are yoga poses, but in terms of just taking care of your body, are going to be essential as well. Okay, so I wanted to share two different stories that might inspire you and you might be able to relate to in different ways. So the first one is, and this happened recently, and it was so awesome. I was working with one of my private clients, and she's been having this on and off lower back pain. And I'm going to move back so you can see what I'm talking about. It's right here. And this is your QL area, your lower back. So she was having some considerable pain and discomfort in that area. And I was having her do all these different types of drills and techniques and breathing practices, and some were helpful and some weren't. And then one day she had a really not good experience, like a bad night. She didn't sleep well. She was distracted by it. And I was like, I just listened and I took massive notes, and I was just asking her so many questions. And there's this like major aha moment when she said this based on the questions that I was asking. And I'm going to show you exactly what happened. So, and this was just in conversation. So I was asking, okay, what did you do? What was the process that you went, so I could break down and figure out how I was going to help her to get rid of this consistent nagging pain that she was feeling. Sometimes it would go from pain to discomfort and back forth. And I wanted to figure out how I could best help her to at least to start minimizing it. And she had gone to like Home Depot, and then I think to the grocery store, and I was asking, and then she was down on the floor, like putting this lamp together. So I was like, okay, you're on your hands and knees, and just different ways that she was using and moving her body that she didn't always do. And I was like, oh, did you carry anything heavy? And she goes, well, yeah, when we were at Home Depot, we were carrying some stuff, her and her husband. And I was like, okay, this is all really good information. And then just a random thing she said, and I was like, wait a minute, what did you just say? I'm going to show you what she demonstrated. And this is why she was having the QL pain. I'm going to move on to the mat to show you. She was sitting like this with her left leg underneath. And this leg is heavy and weight bearing. And this is just here. And it's, putting pressure on the knee, putting pressure on the ankle, but it's also tilting the pelvis. So that was a major aha moment. And I asked, and this is no criticism to her, because I really believe that if you are keeping, asking questions and really understanding how a person lives their day, you're going to be able to help them. I'm going to be able to help them. And so I said, well, How often do you sit like that? And where do you sit like that? Meaning, do you sit in a structured chair? Do you sit on a couch like that? Like, and how often? And she smiles and says, all the time, in a chair and on the couch. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, going forward, no more. That's it. You can't sit like that. And I told her to keep progress on how it was going. And I gave her some specific exercises to do to combat that, to start making that shift. And I said, this is going to feel very different because your body was very used to this specific habit that you were doing all the time. And I think it was maybe a year or longer, many times a day. So it's going to take some practice. And she has said that she learned right away that she was automatically going into that seated position, and she had to, really stop herself and be like, oh, I can't do that anymore. And and didn't always, she hasn't felt great since then. And I'm like, it's going to take time. Your body's got to relearn how to be. And that left side is really like this, like really cramped up. And we have to like relax it and open it up and release, and then start working on the strength and balancing out her pelvis and creating that length. So I thought that was a really wonderful example to share with you as what can happen when we have habitual movements and that not always serve us in the best way. We can do, like, for example, we can go for a walk, and that's awesome. But if we're walking hunched over, and I'm going to turn to the side, and our neck is coming forward, well, the walking is great, but you're crunching everything up in here. So, we want to really pay attention to good body mechanics. And every time I put a class on here, I'm hoping to get across that I really want you to embody taking care of your home. Your home is your body. It's where you reside. You can't escape it right now. You want to take care of it. So when you realize that maybe you're not in the most productive way and it's habitual, you can have the foresight, here with me or with others, to be like, maybe I should try something different. Maybe I should pay attention to how I'm carrying my body, my opening up my chest, my upper back, my neck. And we all have that, that text neck, all these different positions that are not the best way for our body. And we have these little people that sit on our shoulders and are being like, this position really doesn't feel good. Oh, but I'll wait till a commercial before I get up and change the channel and fix it. And those moments are at a cost, because if something doesn't feel good, you really want to think about making the correction or making the change, because our body is always speaking to us, but it's usually very quietly until it becomes really loud. And then it's like, hey, if you don't take care of this, you're going to pay the price. So, and I'm just talking like, small and big here and there with my client example, because like I said, I've had injuries, I've had, and I've done different movement practices where not everything is gone well. I've gotten hurt. So, we want to just really take care, and being able to take care is being mindful and paying attention. And, doctors are great, and I'm not criticizing anybody. We have doctors to, go to them when we have something wrong or we need medicine. But when it comes to your body and something doesn't feel right and you're not being heard, it is your responsibility to be like, I need more. I need a second opinion. I'm telling you something isn't right, because you live in your body and you have to take responsible. And there are people out there like me and doctors and others that will help you, get better and take care. But you have to just pay attention to what's going on, so you can articulate better how to be. And I apologize if this is going kind of crazy. And Mitchell, I don't know what I see. one person is on. I didn't know if you had any questions. I wanted to also go over some specific poses that many have had questions on in the past to help with alignment. So I'll give a second if you're still here. And I'm going to check my notes. Okay. And for the other, if anybody else is on, I don't know if I can see everybody. You can just write hi. And I don't know if I said my name in the beginning. I'm Janel DuRoss. I think I forgot that part. I'm sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back and I'm going to keep looking at the screen if there's any questions, but I'm going to demonstrate a few poses that people have had questions about, or they're not sure about the positioning. So the first one is downward facing dog. And for downward facing dog, I want you to think about it like a capital A shape. So when you're in downward facing dog, you want your butt up and back. So here's the couple things that happen. The first thing, actually, I'm going to move this back a little bit so you can see. There. Okay. Is that the pose can be a little too long. And you're kind of in between a plank and a downward facing dog. Or you can be a little too short. And the short one isn't entirely wrong, but you're going to not be able to get the stretch and the expansion, especially to transition to another pose. And then one other pose part that I see is that in downward facing dog is that the spine is kind of like rounding forward and the knees start to bend, and that, I hope you can hear me, and that takes away from you being able to really get that stretch in the spine, pushing straight arms, and the lengthening. So you're lengthening the whole back body and really getting that stretch from the upper body to the lower body. So just keep in mind, those are some things that I often see and that, clients and students have told me about. So when you're in downward facing dog, just think about it as a capital A shape. Okay, the next pose is Uttanasana, standing forward fold. All right, so when you're in standing forward fold, you can utilize gravity. You could take advantage of gravity. So if your hamstrings are kind of pulling you down, you can keep your knees bent, but I want you to keep shifting your weight forward. So I often see kind of like this hanging position, and it puts so much stress on the lower back. And it's not a productive way to be in the pose. So what you want to do is bring the floor up to you. And the blocks are low, medium, and high. And all you can do is when you're in this forward fold, you can bend your elbows, wiggle, let your head go so that you are folding and you can feel gravity. And then play with shifting forward and back so you can get that productive stretch in the hamstrings and the glutes. Okay, and then the last thing in Uttanasana is that, so when you're forward folding, you're going into flexion. Your neck is part of your spine, but if you lift your head, you're no longer in flexion. So, I guess they should tilt this a little bit. So, when you're in Uttanasana, think about that you're just folding and you're taking advantage of gravity. So you're getting that length in the spine, and your spine starts from your neck, goes all the way to your tailbone. So just pay attention to those cues because you want to really have that length and the whole back body. And the blocks are such a great tool. Okay, moving on. And if you have a question about any of these poses now or in the replay, you can just post them in the comments. Okay, Malasana, and I'm trying to see, I think I can use that well. All right, so Malasana is squat pose, and this has to do with ankle mobility. So I'm going to show you from side view and front view. So Malasana is the heels are down and you can come into any variation. However, I often see the heels lifted. And what you can do is you can take the mat and you can roll it up, or you can get a blanket and you can place your heels on the mat. And then if your spine is falling, your chest is falling, this is going to help you lift up and out of your pelvis. You have that long spine. Now you can also use the wall. And this could still help with your ankle mobility. So you can come into Malasana. So get your heels down. Let me see if I move this way. The camera is flipped, I didn't know that. And push her back into the wall and then work your side glutes so that you can work on being in this position with your heels down. And the wall is such a great tool to play with. Okay, any questions? And don't forget, if you're watching the replay as well, you can post questions there. All right. Supine core work. So core work, laying on your back. I've heard so many times is that when anybody's laying on their back, their lower back lifts as soon as they lift a leg or try to lift both legs. So in order to do that, well, I just want to get the props of the way. I want you to think about breathing fully into a cylinder. Your torso is a cylinder, and you want to breathe front, sides, and back of your torso. Oh, I see a question. All right, I'll read your question in a second, Mitchell, and then I'm gonna demonstrate this first. Okay. So when you are going to do supine core work, so laying on your back, and there are hundreds of variations, I want you to think about breathing fully through your cylinder and going really deep. So when you're in this position, on your lower back, when you're laying on your back, first thing is that you want to go for the pelvic tilt. And the best way to do this is to take your thumb and your pinky finger and try to bring the bottom ribs and the hips together. And then you'll feel your lower back more on the floor. And you can test it by trying to get your fingers underneath. Now, and then stay here and just breathe. And I want you to feel the breath. Can you breathe pressing your lower back into the mat? So I want you to feel that circumference of a breath. Now, here's how you can test it. Do one leg at a time. Keep this breathing. You can keep your palms on your ribs and your belly and your hips and lift one leg. Notice if your hips tilt, and then lower and lift the other leg. And you just keep playing with this. And by the way, when you lift the leg, the closer your leg comes to your head, it's easier, but it's not productive because you're more in like a slack position. If you have the knee over the hip, then you're more in line. I'm trying to line up my foot. And then the further away you go, the harder it is. So you really want to think that you're keep engaging the lower back, the sides, and the front with your breathing all together. And then you're working everything. And this takes practice, but I just want you to know that it is 100% accessible, but start with baby steps, because then you can just keep working toward it and alternating, lifting the legs. You can also do this against the wall. I'm flipped, so it's hard to pay attention to where everything is. Okay, so Mitchell had a question. You didn't you didn't mean to send that? Whoops. Okay, so all right. I don't know if you can delete that if you didn't want to send it. So I won't. I guess I won't comment on it if that's what you want, because I want to respect your privacy. Yeah, I don't know if you can delete it, or I can try and delete it later. Okay, let me see. I had one other specific movement that I wanted to review, because I see this so often, how integral it is to our daily life. And this has to do with walking, standing, balancing, going up and down stairs, and squatting. So pretty much everything we do in our life, and it has to do with ankle dexterity. So when you are going up and down stairs, for example, you're going from dorsiflexion to plantar flexion. You're pedaling a bicycle, you're going from dorsiflexion to plantar flexion. When you're walking or running, it's the same thing. Squatting is definitely dorsiflexion. And then it goes up into the Achilles, up to the calf. So you want to pay attention to the dexterity of your ankle. So you can practice sitting in this pose, and I always have my clients and my students sit in this pose, Dandasana, because for many it's so challenging to be able to sit without falling back in this posterior pelvic tilt. You want to sit upright, really working your posterior chain, so that means your whole back body, and then dorsiflex the feet, and then plantar flex the feet. And when you plantar flex, really reach those toes toward the ground, forward and down, so you get that stretch. And you can just keep working on your posture, your alignment in this position, and then dorsiflex and plantar flex. And just keep playing with it. And then you can add on circles, circling the ankle, and both going both directions, circling around. And this is so important for, longevity and just anything we do in life. And also, I need my glasses. Also, since we're in a modern society, we wear footwear, and footwear is like a cast. It literally, whatever the shape your footwear is in, it makes your foot stay in that position. So it's locked out. And, there's footwear out there that is more ergonomic for feeling like you're barefoot. But the more you walk barefoot, the more you get those intrinsic muscles of your feet to activate and do their job. But when we're in footwear, like a high heel or a really structured shoe, it just locks everything up and it goes into the ankle. So the more that you can, be mindful about just what you're doing and what you're wearing. And then, okay, I have to wear shoes for this function or for this dinner. Enjoy it, embrace it, and have fun, but get out of them as soon as you can and be barefoot. And I know sometimes it's cold. I'm always cold. You want socks on, and that's better than footwear, but you have more tactile feedback when your skin is making contact. The sole of the foot is making contact to the ground. And that's different surfaces, like a wood floor, like grass, sand, rocks, different surfaces. It just makes your feet stronger. Obviously, be careful with, where you're walking, because you don't want to walk on glass. Okay, I'm going to check my notes one more time. Any questions or comments? Anything I've gone over so far? Okay, so I wanted to share just one other story that got me even more zealous on sharing my points of view on why I am just always so eager to really get people to get up and move and take responsibility for their body and really make it this all-encompassing lifestyle. We're in March, so it was last January. My mom had a serious accident. We all worry about ice, and it couldn't been more serious. She fell down icy stairs and was lying out in the cold for 20 minutes in pouring rain in January. And it's in the Northeast, so it's not pleasant when it's very cold and rainy and wet out. Black ice, couldn't see it. No one was there, and she didn't have a coat on or anything because she was just going out to get the mail and she was going to make a cup of tea. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And she had already had knee replacement surgery a few years ago. Well, this fall was pretty bad, where she destroyed that knee that she had surgery on. And not only that, she broke her wrist and just pretty much destroyed her knee knee structure that was put together, and part of her femur, which is your thigh bone, and then parts of her shin. And it was obviously very stressful. And I rushed out there to help her recover, because she had to have whole new surgery. And there's a point to this story, and I'm not trying to dwell on anything, but we always want to really be there for the people that we care about in our life. So I rushed up there, and I was helping take care of and my siblings were there and stuff, but everybody, like, my job had more flexibility to get there. And she needed pretty much 24-hour care after she finally had the full knee replacement surgery. So that means that, there had to be, the femur had to be rebuilt, and there's a rod in there, and then a whole new replacement knee, and, and a cast in the wrist. It was just, so I had to drive. I had to help her she couldn't pretty much do anything for herself. And that, you think about what you need to do for someone else, and then you're empathetic, understanding. Not only can they not sleep, and the incredible amount of pain that they're in on an hourly basis, it's very stressful and taxing and emotional for everybody. And then, the part that really bothered me, besides all of that, is that the doctors put so much fear in her, pretty much saying if she fell again, she would die. And I understand that they had to give her this precaution, but now it's a year later, and that fear is still there. And I just feel sad. Sad's not the right word. Parts angry and parts frustrated, because she's funny and fun and kind of a smartass like I am, and that's kind of been taken away, and she's afraid to do most of life, like leave the house. And when you go through something like that, and like when I couldn't walk, that was a temporary moment. This recovery took a long time. And she's definitely better. She doesn't have and by the way, they found out later she had a blood clot that they almost missed. And then there was actually injury to her spine as well. So things came up later. So it wasn't just a few things, more came of it. And it was hard to leave, to come back here and leave her. And, going through that, I just think that there's got to be some way for when you go through something so traumatic, whether it's yourself or someone close to you, like my mom, that professionals don't put the fear where you hold your life back, especially when it's later in life, because you're missing out on life. And, life is not just big moments, like going on a trip or, meeting up with friends. It's just the little things, like getting down on the floor to play with the kitties, or, going for a walk. You know, that really changed me. Her accident really changed me. And I worry about her every single day. That has not stopped. And it also made me aware to get my butt in gear and start really paying attention, getting older, taking responsibility for what I can control and manage, taking responsibility for my health and my body. And I also see people around me, they will say, and I'm not criticizing anybody, I'm sharing experiences that I keep reflecting on because I see potential, but to have that fear hold them back, it just makes me want to cry, or I have cried and frustrated. And I'm around certain people at different times, and they'll say, "Oh, I used to do that when I was a kid," or "I'm old now. I can't do that." And I'm like, "Well, why? Did you try? Did you apply? Did your doctor say something?" Like, I think there's always a little baby step that you can take to go a little bit further. And maybe you'll feel not great, but maybe you'll feel freaking awesome. And maybe you'll lose the weight that you want to lose, or maybe you'll get rid of that nagging pain wherever it is. And I get frustrated when I hear that and I see that, and I'm like, you're telling me as a yoga teacher, and I'm like, well, if you move your body, you will feel better. That's all and it doesn't, to each his own. You just have to, I guess it's those people that have this lifestyle where they really want to embrace everything. It's like a juicy blood orange that just like tastes so good. You want that in your life in every capacity. And that's movement. And I have to say about movement, what I was saying earlier is that, so many times when I'm working on the computer or preparing for a client, and, I'm on the computer long, I try to stand up or I get on my mat. But if there's a problem that I'm trying to figure out, every single time I either go for a walk outside, getting the fresh air, the vitamin D, well, that's coming soon, hopefully, spring, summer, and moving my body, I get the answer. Every time I have this struggle and moving my body, I get the answer. I get what I need. And it's like a miracle. But it's actually not, because our bodies are meant to move. So I'm going to pause for one moment and see if there's any questions. I have shared a lot. We've been on for 43 minutes. And I just wanted to see if anybody wants to ask anything, share anything. And remember, if you're watching the replay, I would be so happy to hear a comment and know more about you and how I can help you. Anybody? All right. Well, I think we're going to close this session. And I do want, for those that are on with me live, and Mitchell, hi again. I'm so happy you're here. And I see someone else. You can say hi in the chat if you'd like. I just want to thank you so much for your time. Being a yoga teacher or a movement professional, like I said, I'm not a traditional yoga teacher. I just get so excited to be like, oh, try this, and oh, do this, because it feels so much better and you feel so good, and you really it's just like a different level of being human versus being like restricted as a human. And we do have these forms, chairs and airplanes and cars, where they restrict our movement. But then if we, take control and responsibility, we can just be freaking awesome and really have this amazing lifestyle right this moment and going forward. So thank you again so much for joining me. And I want to say that if you are interested in working with a coach like myself, you can put in the comments and just put coach and I will reach out to you. There's, we can have, I give out gratis Zoom calls to see where you are and what you want to work on. And if we're the right fit, and all you have to do is put coach. And if not, you can just keep watching and practicing, not watching, practicing with my videos on YouTube. And if you have any questions, please post them in the comment. Remember to share. Sharing is a form of caring because, like I said, I really want to help people just feel awesome in their body and know that you will be surprised what you are capable of. And you don't know until you try and apply. And sometimes you can just be astounded. And that I see that so many times when I work with my clients and my students, and that keeps me going. That keeps me doing what I'm doing. So thank you again. And remember, subscribe, hit that bell so you get alerts when every Thursday I post a new class. This is my first live. And you can also let me know if you like this live, I will do more. I will be happy to do more. So let me know. And if you're watching the replay, I would be happy to hear from you on the replay, what helped you, what you liked, what you didn't like, and any questions you have. Because this is my happy place, like movement and helping others with their movement. So thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And I'm also on Instagram, Janel DuRoss, at Janel DuRoss. So you can find me here and on Instagram. So thank you so much. And hopefully I will connect with you soon. Ciao, everybody.